So this is a story of how I got scammed 12,300 by a popular event planner. This person was not a stranger to me. So this individual came into my life roughly about 4 years ago. I met her through a friend. Then unfortunately, I suffered a miscarriage in the January 2023. So then she reached out to me and she said, oh, I haven't seen you in a long time. How have you been? I was like, oh, I've not really been well. I've just been going through it. And then she was like, oh, I'm gonna pop over the house and then stuff like that. When are you gonna be home? Let me take you out to dinner. Let me cheer you up. Let me put a smile on your face. You know, the usual things that people do just to buy your trust. We went to dinner in a restaurant called Orel. She wanted to be fancy, and then guess what? She paid for the dinner. And then we came home, and then we started kicking it, like talking. Oh, how are you? How's your doctor's appointment going? How are you feeling? How are you mentally and stuff like that? And then in the May, which was the 2023 May, I literally had a little birthday shindig for my husband, and then I invited literally my nearest and dearest, and I invited her too. She was a nice person. I'm not going to sit here and say she was not nice. But all that was to buy me in. When somebody's being too nice, chances are they do have an agenda. And then she met a couple of friends in my house and stuff. And obviously she became acquainted to them. Then I didn't see her for a long time. And then obviously I found out I was pregnant in the September of the 2023. So yet again, I was isolating myself again because, you know, as I said, if you've lost a baby before, when you get pregnant again, you just want to, you know, mind your own business and be in your own space. So she must have knocked on my door one time and I didn't have a camera at the front then, and I opened the door. And she was like, oh my God, but no, you're actually pregnant. You've done really well, you know, you hid it from everybody. Good job, you hid it from everybody, because that your other friend that I met you through, she hates you. Bearing in mind at this point, I'd known this girl over a year. So she had bought my trust to the point where we were friends, you know, and she would come up to me and say to me, oh, such a body doesn't like you. Then she started to make me feel so isolated that I had no one but her. She was always a hero in a story. So because we were close and my parents live in a different city as well, and then I reached out to her and I said to her, oh, I've just had a baby. And she goes, oh, where are you? And I said, where I was. And then she was like, don't worry, I'll pop by. And because of the scenario, so she was the only person that was allowed to come and visit us, really. And because we were quite close at the time, so I thought, obviously I wanted to do my little girl's christening. So we went through the whole rigmarole of what we wanted for our daughter's christening, literally gave her everything. She was like, oh my God, I have a promo for you right now. Honestly, I'm running this promotion today. It's just today only. And you're going to literally, you've called me at the right time. Oh my God, Benel, did you know that I was doing a promo? Oh my God, I prayed about it. And God said that today I should do a promo for people. And I'm so glad that you've called. So if you pay me X amount of money, like today by 1 o'clock today, I'm gonna do everything for you. So food, makeup, hair, MC, DJ, photographer, videographer, basically everything for that amount. So I was like, okay, now it sounds too good to be true, but I'm probably sure that she's probably in debt with somebody else and she needs money. I said that even as a joke without realizing I was actually telling the truth. So my husband was like, okay, cool. Give the money to her, pay for baby girl's christening, and make sure you get an invoice. To even get that invoice back was a different scenario. We went back and forth. Anyway, so now fast forward to the bit where I tell her about the business, and then she calls me on a Saturday and goes, oh my God, I've got somebody ready for you to work with you on the projects that you said you wanted. And I said, okay, I'm out at dinner. Give me a call tomorrow, which was a Sunday after church, and then we'll sit and talk about it. So as prompt, she was at my house 6 p.m. on the Sunday after. And then we sat there, and then there was another lady on the phone called Anna. So now she introduces another character. So this Anna was the person that was telling me about how her client wants to work with me. So I was like, okay, well, there's a lot of people involved. And then Anna then asked a question. Anna's not a made-up person, by the way. Anna's her friend. So Anna asked the question, is Benel from Barber's agency? So I was just like, who's Barber? And then she was like, oh, I'll tell you about her later. So I said, okay, cool. So that's how that phone call ended. So she came and then she said, oh, the clients that you spoke to, or that person that you spoke to that wanted to work with you, she wanted to know if you were working from an agency. Now, the little I know about affluent people, because she made it sound like that person was affluent. The little, don't think I'm a fool here, so I'm going to explain and hear me out. The little that I know about affluent people, if somebody is of a certain caliber or a high net worth client, they will bank with a type of bank. They won't have a normal bank account. They'll have a private bank account. So when she said, oh, this person would only work with you if you were from that person's agency, it wasn't new to me because it was a world I was familiar with, because I had footballer friends that were using such agencies to do their personal shopping, to buy their homes and stuff like that, because of the type of money they were handling. But when she said it, I was like, okay, cool. How much is this person going to charge? Because for me, it's a business deal. You use money to make money, legit money, of course. Me and my husband thought she was roughly going to charge maybe like 1,000 at $2,000 at the most. And then the girl came back and she said, oh, it's going to be £9,000. And all of a sudden, this friend of mine who were sharing a story about said, oh, don't worry, Benal, it's such a good opportunity. Then showed me a text message about another friend and then said, such and such a body asked me for money, but I'm not even going to give them the money to you, but I'm going to give the money to you because clearly you want to do a business with it. And when it pays off, you can pay me back my money. So my husband was very uncomfortable with the idea. And at that point, I felt like I didn't have a choice. One, I was postnatal. I was going through postpartum like mad. Yeah, so bearing in mind, she said the money was $6,000. No, 9,000. So she said she'd pay 3,000. Well, she did that to gain my trust. So we gave her the £6,000 cash. So anyway, handed the $6,000 over to her now. And then at this moment, I didn't get a receipt. I didn't get an invoice. I didn't get nothing. Bear in mind, she had already been paid for my daughter's christening, because either way, I was thinking, oh, nothing's going to happen because this person can't scam me, innit? Because at the end of the day, she's doing my daughter's christening. So either way, she's going to have to turn up at some point. My girl was still coming into my house literally every single day because we were friends. And then when she came into my house, my daughter, after spending 3 weeks in a hospital with my little girl, she come up to me and then she goes, oh, sis, you know your daughter's illness. I think it's spiritual, you know. I feel like it's people around you that have done it. But don't worry. This was her voice. Don't worry. I'm going to... my pastor that I pray with, I'm going to get her to speak to you. And she's going to pray for your daughter to get better. Because we were close, I was very indebted to her. I felt like she'd... like, you know, she got my best interest at heart. Like, my daughter was not well and she was going to, like, help me pray and then, you know, make my daughter feel a lot better. So I was like, okay, cool. So then her pastor phoned me. And I remember it was in one of these mornings. And then when she phoned me, she was basically like, oh, like, how are you? Benal, my daughter, how are you? Literally with an Indian accent. And I was just like, okay. And then she was like, oh, I see a lot of pain around you. I see a lot of hurt. I see people have let you down. And this woman was the only person that is riding for you and standing for you and da-da-da-da-da. You need to be in, what's the word? You need to like hold her dear. She's the only person that cares for you. Guys, I've literally just told you 3 weeks I spent in a hospital, in a pediatric ward, 3 weeks. And we've just come home. How exhausted was we? We were knackered. So... she could have sold me gold at this point and I would have actually bought it. Do you understand? And then this woman was like, oh, let's pray. And then she started praying for me. So that's how we started. It started off with prayer. After she prayed for me and everything, I then basically said, oh, how much? Because, you know, like, you can't just let somebody pray for you and not give them. So I was thinking maybe like a gift or something. So I was just like, oh, like, mommy, how much? And then she was like, oh, she's very expensive. So I was thinking, oh, maybe expensive, like £100, you know. How much was it?
3,000.
3,000 pounds. So at that point, I was just felt like I owed her.
Because your pastor will not even ask you for money.
Because my pastor's never asked me for a penny. So then she said to me that my daughter was going to be really sick to the point where she's not going to be... yeah. Just imagine the worst scenario. My husband was going to be in a plane crash. My father-in-law was going to pass away. And then there was bad things that was going to be happening to my family, including my dad. So at this moment, I was just thinking, oh my God, like all these bad things are going to happen to all these people because of me. Because I didn't pay the money. Because now she wants money. So at that moment, the emphasis on the money was literally the money had to be paid today, like now. The money had to be paid today. And I was just thinking, like, mate, my money is locked in a lot of things. So I haven't got, like, if you could wait tomorrow, I would literally speak to my bank. And then, but bearing in mind that my bank was already suspicious because, yet again, when we moved that money, the original 6,000, this individual made the split the money over different accounts. So it never went to my friend's account. It went to multiple different accounts, which is also another red flag. But when you're in the thick of it, you don't actually realize what's going on. But the pastor was never the person that took the money. It was always my friend that would literally 2 seconds she'd be out the house. So at this moment, the money had got into 9,000. So I started to query, when am I going to get this business deal that I'd put my money into? And then she was like, oh, there's a lot of things happening that I need to pray for you. And at this moment, I started to fall sick. My friend at this point had made me go into a business with this barber woman that I wasn't hearing back from. So I would call my friend and I'll be crying and I'll just be saying like, I need my money back, or at least the business transaction to go through, because you've told me that this person was interested in my business or business offer and they were going to basically be an investor or whatever it was. So how come I'm not hearing back? Then she was like, oh, forget about that person. I've got you another client. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, okay, we're going somewhere. Then she basically said, a friend of mine who's a male said so many horrible things to that other woman. This is what she does as well. And is the reason why that woman decided not to go into business with me. And so I was fuming and I wanted to ring this male friend of mine. So I just left it as it is. So at this moment, my 6 grand is hanging in a balance with somebody else that's supposed to be doing a deal with me. My 3 grand is hanging in a bloody balance with the person that's supposed to be praying for me. Do I forge ahead or do I go back? Either way, I'm not going to get my money back. So I just need to try and at least get something out of the situation. I couldn't sleep. It started turning into a nightmare. So I rang her and I was fuming. And I said to her, can you ring that pastor woman of yours and then tell her to tell me exactly what's going on? Because clearly she claims to be the all-knowing. So at that moment, she then said, oh, she had to pay a consultation fee for me. And that was £200. So now the tally is 12,200. And then there was another £100 that she said she paid for me somewhere. So she came here one time, literally it was like less than 8 o'clock in the morning, I have to say. This girl was at our door, literally, oh my God, that's what she was doing. Oh my God, my pastor has rang me to say that if your husband goes to work today, he's going to be in a plane crash. So I called my husband downstairs and sat him down. And she then said my husband had to pay how much?
5 grand. Or was it 3 grand?
£3,000. It wasn't 5 grand. It was £3,000. And then what she does is she convenient was, oh bro, you know how close we are as a family. I'm gonna pay it for you. If you don't pay it, this woman, you know, the things that she's saying is actually gonna happen, you know.
And I said no.
And then my husband was like, then I will sit here till whatever evil omen is supposed to happen to me passes by. So my husband didn't pay a penny. She sat here all day. So we literally were cooped in our home. Then she came back again and she goes, my daughter's illness is going to get worse. At that moment, my daughter started to be sick. My daughter that never throws up was suddenly thrown up. And I was like, nah, I have a funny feeling that this child is being poisoned or something is happening to my child. So what we did was we choked away her food, literally emptied out her milk and everything and started afresh. And we got a camera for our house. We literally started putting cameras in our house. And then she saw the camera one time and she basically was like, oh my God, all of a sudden, like, how come you've got a camera here? Is it because of me? I was just like, okay, why would you even say that, like, randomly? Yeah. And then I was just like, nah, okay. There's a reason why she's saying that. It's clearly because she knows, like, she knows what I want. She knows she's done something. One Sunday, she comes over from church. And she doesn't go to church, by the way, but she came from church. And then she said to me, she was speaking to me, but then she forgot herself. And then she spoke in the accent of the barber woman. But because I was busy talking to my friend was here with her little boy. Because I was so busy talking to my friend, I didn't actually pay attention to it. So my husband clocked it almost immediately and then said to me, I think the barber is this individual. And I was like, no way. And I said, well, the funny thing is, I think that that spiritual woman and that barber person sounds the same. So if you think that my friend sounds the same as barber, then she's definitely all three. And my husband got involved and said, Madam, today, this whole nonsense ends today. Tell that barber friend of yours that we need every single penny. Bernard does not want to do business with anybody again. Every single penny, we want the money back. And that's when our struggles started. This friend of mine started coming up with excuses. Oh, she doesn't know where Baba lives. She's not like Baba's, like she's been trying Baba's phone. She then said, give me your bank details. I'll pay the money now. Never happened. Literally back and forth. As I said again, this is why the disclaimer is coming in, because if you've ever paid money, people have reached out to me to say they've put money in my bank account. Yes, you did put money in my bank account. This individual told you to. That was because she owed me, not because I work with anybody. I don't work with nobody. She owed me 12,300, and that's how you ended up in my bank. Whoever ended up in my bank details ended up in my bank details. So that's the explanation now. So at this moment, she had literally messed about the money so much. So my husband was relentlessly on her every single day. I had to back away because I couldn't deal with it mentally. I was really struggling. It was just causing unnecessary arguments, and she was reveling in it. She was enjoying it because that's what she wants to do. She wants us to literally argue, and that's what she frustrate you to you actually leave the money for her. So 2 days before my daughter's christening, the Holy Spirit prompted me to call her over to this house. So I said, okay, baby girl, I need to talk to you. Let's go through baby girl's final christening arrangement. And then obviously we had our cameras ready to record it, because there was no way that I was going to let this girl deny nothing, because we wanted to confront her, but we also didn't want her to not do our daughter's christening. So what then happened was, I had a strong feeling, like a really, really strong feeling, to call those numbers. The Holy Spirit was prompting me, like, call those two numbers, like the barber's phone, and then so I've got so many messages. So call the barber's phone and the pastor's phone. And then even my husband was like, don't do that. Don't put your hand in her bag and stuff. And I was like, please, I've got to do this for my own sanity, because at this moment, I have a really strong feeling that it's my girl that's doing it. So then my husband was like, what if she comes up? Because she'd just gone outside and she left her bag on the floor, which we have videos of. I said, baby, like, you open the camera on your phone and then let me call these numbers. Guys, I called the first number, which was Barbara's number. The phones were in her bag, guys. She had scammed me 12,300. And then I thought, let me call the second number, who's the pastor. It was ringing in her bag. All two of them were ringing in her bag. I have evidence of this. This event planner / my friend was the same person that had turned herself into a woman of God and told me that my husband was going to be in a plane crash. My daughter was changing her voice and speaking to me as an Indian person. And changing her voice and pretending to be Baba. At that moment, I wanted to kill the F out of this girl, but it was 2 days before my daughter's christening. So I was quiet. I went into the kitchen and I drank a large glass of red wine, and I came and sat in front of her, and I was very quiet. So when she came in, I pretended like I got a headache and I wanted to go upstairs because I was fuming inside. How can you have befriended me? How can you have seen me go through that much pain? How could you have visited me in hospital with a baby that I just had early? How can you know everything that I was dealing with work and stress? I'd literally gone back to work 2 months after I'd given birth. How can you know every single thing? I had miscarriages and scam me? Me, that was your friend, supposed friend. Just after the hospital, my daughter was in hospital for 3 weeks. You were able to. How can an evil person can do that? My husband literally asked her, told her everything, and then basically said, how come when we rang these numbers that you'd been scamming my wife with, how come they were in your bag? It was almost like somebody had poured cold water on her. She couldn't speak. I still could not believe it. And I said to her, I don't want nothing to do with you. I don't know you. Just whatever is left of the money, which is £3,000 at this point. Can you pay me my money back? And she said yes. I know it sounds stupid, but guys, I have given you a scenario of what happened. It wasn't a straightforward, give me money and I gave it. Stuff happened in between. So she'll do everything just so that she can gain your sympathy. She will tell you stories upon stories, you know, just so that you feel so sorry for her. She was a friend for many years before she was able to do a scam on me. But even me, that was a friend, she scammed me and she still was able to see me every single day. She still was able to eat in my house every single day. How evil is she? You know, she would sit here and watch me cry about my money. But all along, she was the person that had the money. That's how sick she is. Honestly, that's how honestly sick and psychotic and deluded this individual is. As I said earlier, this video is not to gain sympathy or anything. I don't actually need it. I've gone past it now. All I'm saying is be careful.